can further predispose the woman to being, apart from other issues that may be there. Now, menopause and andropause are also associated with different other symptoms like hair loss, hot flushes, anxiety. So those also are stressors that will also build to predispose the person. Also, as a person grows older, there may be more things that are stressing them. The fact that a woman, for example, is losing her femininity, so to say, she may no longer, how do I put it, as the estrogen drops, estrogen is the hormone that makes a person to feel feminine and everything and all that. So all those things can be stressors that build up to make a person more at risk. So it's been documented that yes, women are more at risk of depression at menopause. It's also been said about andropause, though it has not been as studied as menopause. And then women are also at a higher risk of depression, even outside of menopause or andropause. Now, what can be done? We want to, for things that to, since there is no cause of depression, so to say, so it's not like you will pick one thing and say that once we address this, this is the problem. But we will do, take steps to build a person's well-being, all-round well-being and emotional well-being. So things like support, social support, good nutrition, good work, things that are fulfilling to the person will help to build up their emotional well-being.
Fantastic. Can we celebrate God for that knowledge as well? So it can happen at any stage in life, and it's not just at menopause or andropause. Different things could be responsible for it. But you also made reference to social circumstances helping in relieving that. So I want to ask Dr. Atoyebi, I'm taking it from her. To what extent would you say that social circumstances, in terms of maybe economic situation, economic disadvantage, maybe issues around in the family, the state of the family where the person finds him or herself, colleagues, because I want us to be mindful that there is a chance that some of us are even the reasons some of the people around us are having these issues. Some of us could be the reason someone else is falling into depression or something like that. To what extent would you say that this is one of the stress factors that could cause it? And what are the things that we as individuals, as Christians, should take note of so that we avoid being the causative factor for people around us falling into these mental illnesses?
Good evening, church. Thank you very much, Ma, for the opportunity. Yes, social stressors could be a cause of depression or a factor that would aggravate or push someone into depression. It could include poor employment or no employment, insecurity, the feeling of not being able to meet up with your peers. You are in a social cycle, everyone is doing well, their children are being sent to a particular school, your children are going to another school, the fear of I've not been able to pay my house rent or my landlord will send me out soon. There are subtle social stressors that can lead someone to extreme sadness or even depression, have panic attacks, and eventually affect the mental health as a whole. What do we do to push people into depression? Okay, you are in a circle of friends and you see that one of you is not behaving the way he used to or she used to. The person is not as bubbly as the person used to be. And rather than talk with or ask questions, we talk about the person. And then the person hears later on and then falls further into depression. The other thing could be the words we even speak. So while talking, this Bible passage came to my mind where it's said that if a man is unable to provide for his household, he's worse than an infidel. Now imagine someone who is unable to actually provide for his household, not because he's not working, but because work factors, he loses his job, and then a close associate says that to the person. I mean, let's imagine what the thought line will be like. And the person feels he's worse than an infidel. My close friends are not seeing things the way I'm seeing it. The person will eventually fall gradually into depression. So we should watch what we say and how we say it to our friends, because at some point, people are passing through one thing or the other. So at one point or the other, people are passing through something, passing through some hard situations or the other. So we should watch what we tell people. And when we ask them, oh, okay, what's going on? And the person says it, there's no point sharing with somebody else if you know that you're not sharing it to help. You know, you could share with somebody that could rescue that person, probably get a job for the person, or provide what the person needs immediately. So we could share with such people. But if you're sharing it just to spread the news that, person is not meeting his needs and all that, then we'll further push the person into depression.
Can we celebrate God for this, please? You know, still trying to demystify this issue, one of the things that I've taken away from what you said, among the very many things that are very valuable that you have expressed, is that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And for us as individuals, it's very, very, very important that we are mindful of the people around us. Pay attention to people. Take note of when they are changing. Take note of when things are happening in their lives that are making them act in ways that are not how they would typically act, happily, proudly, helpfully. If we are able to pay attention to people, then we will note those things. Let's not just be carried away with our own challenges. And know that sometimes there is someone around you that needs your support, or you may even be the only person that can help them out of whatever situation they're going through. Let's show love, and then it goes a long way in helping people. Still drilling down to people going through things and needing support. Let me come to you, Dr. Lukolade. Let's talk about one of the situations that weighs people down the most, grief. You know, we know that grief is something that happens whether or yes we want it, it will come. It's a common and general experience in our society. How should grief be handled? Both by the person that, we can say that you can dictate how someone should handle grief, but the people around them. How can we be good support system to people that are going through a strongly bad time?
Yeah, talking about grief. Grief, like you said, is something that's definitely happened in life. And oftentimes, we don't plan for it. And again, even if we plan for it, if somebody had been sick for a very long time, there is an expectation, we still have this feeling that a miracle is going to happen. However, I don't want us to look at grief as only when someone dies. Grief also goes about when we lose people in our lives. So we actually lose people. We lose friendship of many years. We lose relationships. We lose things that we value. And even other things in our lives that we can lose. And when we lose them, we go through grief. One of the best things that can happen when people are grieving is for us to be like emotional sandbag for them. So what we do is that we are not trying to tell the people that you are a man. Push it through. Don't be a chicken and things like that. Don't be a sissy, things like that. So the first thing that we need to do for people is to just hear them out. One of the first things that people need is someone that can just listen. You know, I've seen situations that people come to therapy because they are grieving, and I listen for hours. And they say that even without saying anything, I feel better. And that tells you, because one of the first things that you need to do for people who are grieving is that there are a lot of things in their mind that they want to talk about. They want to talk about their expectations. They want to talk about failed things that the future cannot bring any longer. And sometimes there are some things that they look at in their own lives that probably am the cause of the loss of this thing. and because I've not done this or I've done that. That's the first thing that we need to do, listen to people. And also, because like she has said before, that there is power in our tongue. The things that we say to people when they are grieving goes a long way in affecting them. So I often say that if what you are going to say is not going to make the person better, if you don't know what to say, it's better to keep quiet. And I take that example from the life of Job. He was grieving about a lot of things in his life. And he has 3 friends. And the 3 friends were talking to him a lot. And by the time he finished it, he said that, he used a phrase for them, which I can't remember very well, but what it meant was that they are not support for him. So sometimes we can be with someone, spend 40 days with him in sackcloth and not be support for that person. Because of the things that we are going to say, tell the person that it is because you have sinned against God, and because this cannot happen if you are a good Christian. This will not happen to your children. This will not happen. Those are those things that we can say that will hurt people more and probably make them even sink into depressive states.
I think this is very instructive. You can be around someone that is grieving and still not be a support for the person. You may even be aggravating the person's situation, making it worse. Sometimes if you don't know what to say, keep quiet. Pray. You don't even need to counsel if the right words are not coming. Just keep quiet. You can be around. That's not the time to eat more from what the person has as a little stash. That's not the time to say words that just could hurt the person more. Just be around. Keep quiet. Okay. Still furthering this conversation, Dr. Atoyebi, I'm thinking about one of the things that has been raised. And, we've said that life happens to people, and yes, we can try to be the best support system possible. But for the person that may be having a mental illness, for a person that may be getting depressed, if the person knows that anything could happen to anybody, how does the person know at what point to become concerned that, this is not just sadness, this is becoming a mental illness, or this is becoming depression? For the person in that situation, how does the person know when to begin to seek help?
Thank you, sir. So we don't exist in isolation. People have 1 or 2 people around them at particular points. So for someone who is in depression, usually it will take another person to tell them that something is wrong before they finally agree. And until that person agrees, the person will not seek help. So we still go back to needing a support system, needing people to watch out for each other. So it is when someone watches out for the other person that the other person knows that something is wrong and we need to look for help. Dr. Olukolade has mentioned the symptoms and the signs of depression. When we notice that in people, if that person is not willing to talk to us or listen to us, then we can speak to somebody who we think is an influence over the person's life, that can talk to the person and help the person or persuade the person to seeking help. Normally, they tell us that until the person is willing, that's when the person will seek therapy. But when we see that the person is becoming suicidal, beginning to do things that would harm the person, it's not about the person being willing. It's about you bringing help to the person before we lose the person. I hope I'm right, because I know I'm a community physician.
Can we celebrate Dr. Atoyebi, please? Celebrate her well for the knowledge that she's sharing with us this evening. Thank you so much, ma. Dr. Falabulu Mole, I'm thinking about this issue, the way it has been raised, and it's becoming very broad. And I'm thinking there's one thing that is common to almost everyone sitting in this room, and that is social media. We have seen people being dragged. I mean, you can tell that this person's emotions are being dragged on social media. To what extent would you say that this is probably one of the factors that leads to huge mental health issues that people around us are facing? And then even at that, would you say that there are things that we can suggest to combat it, both for us participating and for those that are the recipients?
Okay, thank you for that question again. Now, social media has a very huge impact on mental health. There are positive, there's a positive side to it, and there's a negative side to it. Some of the positive sides are that many of us become more aware about mental health. We become aware about how to seek help, and the fact that people who may go through mental illnesses may get to find out that they are not alone. So people have found support systems, even on the social media, how to get help and all that, which is very good. But there is a downside to it, and this is what you're talking about, the cyberbullying, among other things. Now, cyberbullying, in a way, is just like the regular bullying, in a way, but in some ways they're different. Now, people generally are cruel. You see that from, and before you know it, it's all over the world. So you may be trending at #1 or something, and somebody from China has an opinion, somebody from the US has an opinion, and they're just saying really, really nasty things. The good thing about it is that you can switch it off. So unlike real life, so to say, bullying, you can, to some extent, switch it off. Of course, I say to some extent because some people's livelihood is there, some people's social support and all is also there. But ways to deal with cyberbullying, affecting, I'm saying cyberbullying because I think that's a major thing. There are also other things like comparing yourself in an unhealthy manner to other people and all that. But I think cyberbullying is a major thing. That's why I'm dwelling on it. Now, some of the things to do to deal with that is, #1, you yourself, don't be a cyberbully. It's so easy to make nasty comments in the name of being frank or being, I'm straightforward, I'm a very straightforward person. I don't sugarcoat it, I'll say it as it is. But many people hide under that guise to be nasty because you need to put yourself in the shoes of that person. If you are in that position, is that how you will want to be addressed? People are fighting battles every day that you know nothing about. Some people can be depressed. They call them smiling depressed. They can come and make skits on social media and they are laughing. They have everybody laughing. But they are depressed and probably suicidal. And it may be that comment you made, thinking you are being frank, that may tilt the person to go and attempt suicide. Imagine being the cause, the reason somebody attempted suicide. I don't think anybody will want to live with that. So first of all, you yourself don't bully. Secondly, if let's say you are a victim to that, the first thing is to take time out. Don't respond immediately. So somebody says something you don't like to you on social media, give it time. You don't have to respond. I mean, nobody's going to hold your fingers to type. So just give it time. You can give it like 1 or 2 hours. Wait, think about it. As a Christian, pray about it. You can ask some people, how do you think I should respond to this? It's likely that whatever response you give an hour or 2 after thinking about it or praying about it is going to make more sense, so to speak, than what you would have given in the heat of time. So take some time out, think about it before you answer. Try not to be mean to the person back or answer in neutral tones. If you have to educate the person, you do that, but without being mean. You may also decide to take some time out of social media so that it doesn't get to you too much. And then another thing is that you can report if the person, is violating different rules. You can report and block the person. You don't have to follow everybody. You can block the person. If you think this person is, the things they're saying are not good for my mental health, for my spiritual health, just block the person. It's not by force to follow the person. So I think.
Can we celebrate God once again for that? Don't be a bully. And one very powerful thing that you said, you can switch it off. You can actually switch it off. A day or 2, or even forever off Twitter, you remain alive. Twitter is a toxic place. All right, Dr. Olukolade, I hope we are learning. Church, I hope we are actually learning this evening. Please remember, if you have questions, you can write them down, you can pass them forward, or may also be able to provide time for you to speak. Dr. Olukolade, people in this part of the world often believe that mental illness is something to be stigmatized about, or some people just generally believe that mental illness is madness. And because of that, they don't want to own up to it. So let's ask directly, what is madness? What is mental illness? Are they different?
Well, you suddenly put me on the spot because saying that what is madness, what is mental illness. We say that mental illness is when an individual is behaving in a way that is different from what is expected. And we have some things that we often look at when we say that somebody is having a mental illness. One of it is that when there is a deviation from the norm, there is something that is expected. Let's assume we will expect everybody here to sit on the chair, and someone is sitting on the floor. Now, that is a deviation from the norm. Now, again, one of the things that makes us to say that something is a mental illness then is that when it causes distress to that individual and it causes distress to other people. So when something is causing distress to that person, so it's possible that a person might not have an obvious behavior that is deviating from the norm, but is causing distress to other people. For instance, somebody is taking cannabis, and the use of this cannabis is making this individual to become aggressive. It might not cause distress to that person, but it's causing distress to others. So then we say it's a mental illness. Then also when it is an extreme behavior. So when the behaviors get to the extreme, then we start looking at it that this is mental illness. Now looking at it like madness, I think what you are talking about is a psychotic illness, which is schizophrenia-like illness. Now, and that talks about when a person has lost touch with reality. Now, losing touch with reality is another form of mental illness, but that is not the definition for all mental illnesses. Now, there are mental illnesses that I quickly want to mention that we might not just look at and say that, does that person has a mental illness? And I say, someone that has inability to sleep is a mental illness. Someone that has erectile dysfunction